All right. I'm going to just kind of highlight here. I just went through the entire. I went through all of the Sunday preview, and I went through the detachment, and I screwed up. I did not notice that every so often I have an issue with the restream dock in for OBS where something will go wrong and it won't be streaming to my channels. And then I'll have to reset it. And I had that happen, and then I forgot to actually finish resetting it. I don't know. I probably got distracted, probably got brain farted, and just didn't reset it. So uh, I just spent a whole time streaming into the void. Like I don't know if even restream, like when you do this, I don't know if even restream has the stream caught. I might see if restream caught it, if it was in their cloud, and then I can download the stream I previously did, and then I might try uploading that to my channel as a separate video. I'll check that in a little bit. Before probably after I get some food, or maybe even during while my food's cooking or something. But yeah, so I'll just give real quick my highlights on this one. So this is the Wrathful Procession detachment for Black Templars. The theming of this detachment is you have built up a crusade of infantry, so it affects mostly your infantry and mounted unit, and you are marching up at your enemy, and you are going to push into them. And while doing that, you get one of these buffs every turn, and you get to pick it. There is a little bit of anti-synergy between Chorus of Relentless Hate and Deathless Devotion, where they both will help you get into position. And then, of course, Rite of Perfervid Wrath is your go turn buff. So this is a pretty good detachment roll. I like that. The enhancements are okay. In fact, basically, the theme of this detachment is it is okay. You've got these two enhancements right here, Pyrobrand and Sacred Rage, that feel like you almost want to put this on a Death Star. And here's the thing. It wouldn't actually be a Death Star. What it would be is what is called an AOS, a Porcupine unit. You would basically be putting this on a big Primaris Crusader brick with two characters attached to it. One character carrying the Pyrobrand, and the other carrying Sacred Rage. And this would just make this unit, you'd push it into the midboard, and it would just become a real pain in the butt for your opponent to shift, especially if you've got Chant of Deathless Devotion going on. And it basically forces your opponent, you might use that to force your opponent into inopportune trades, into wasting a lot of firepower, or maybe they do the opposite, they ignore it, and then all of a sudden they've got this massive brick of Primaris Crusaders that's coming into their lines, and then you've got this stratagem, Relentless Momentum, which makes that brick a lot more effective in the charge and in that first fight than it otherwise would have been. So it kind of feels like what this is going for. You've got Terramon Sensor, which makes a unit a little bit more, a little bit better for like mission play and objective play, where essentially like you might take like a unit of intercessors or something like that and be pushing onto an objective, and then you might steal the objective because of battle shock. The battle shock being inflicted, especially since battle shock is being strengthened, and having it will be much more useful now than it has been in the past for being able to take objectives away from the opponent. And then Benediction of Fury is it's a cheap, nice to have one that probably isn't going to do much, depending on like how good you are at keeping your unit alive. Your chaplain might get a couple of mortal wounds in over the course of the game. And then the stratagem section is basically full of nice to haves. Okay, you get your 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, nice to have. You've got Castigate the Demagogues to precision out specific pain in the butt characters, nice to have. You get your ability to change out the bonus you got for a specific unit. So change out one of these. It's not both. You get this instead of, which is nice to have. So it's just there's a lot of nice to haves. Then you've got Armor of Contempt, which is still a fantastic stratagem. Yes, it has been nerfed. It is still good, especially in the fight phase or when you're just trying to make a specific trade worse. But not you can no longer just put the brick out and just frustrate your opponent. As far as like them just needing to put ridiculous amounts of shooting into it. Again, that's what Deathless Devotion and these two enhancements are for. Um, and then I've got the aforementioned Relentless Momentum, which when you do hit in with a big brick or a just barely got in charge, this Relentless Momentum is going to make your unit much, much more effective than before. Then finally, you've got Brute Fervor, which is both a great little stratagem to have in your pocket for when you need to do a fight against something that's not your oath target. And it again has a little nice to have rolled in, where if your opponent's got one of those penalties in the fight phase, then you can use this to ignore that penalty as well. So all of the whole, this detachment is fine. It does feel like there is overlap with Righteous Crusaders, but it's not as bad, I feel, as the Thousand Suns had. Like the Thousand Suns really just felt like two different variations on the exact same theme. It's very obvious when you look at the army roll and the fact that you can only take it on your infantry and your mounted units, that this is all about, like, somebody looked at WTC and the big Crusader, or not WTC. They looked at that one big GT that had world team champ. I think world team championships also had the guy had some people taking the horde mode Black Templar lists. But it's very obvious they looked at that and they looked at the big Primaris Crusaders blocks and they said, hey, let's build a detachment around those. So whereas the last one is just a more versatile, buffs any kind of Black Templars army, this is specifically around your infantry, around your gigantic blocks of Primaris Crusaders, around perhaps maybe your newly buffed Primaris Intercessors. So there is a theme to this. It is not just Righteous Crusaders with a different coat of paint on it. But there is a lot of overlap between this and Righteous Crusaders. And it's fine. It is a fine detachment. It is a very solid B tier detachment, in my opinion. But again, with any Space Marine detachment, you've got to ask yourself, why am I taking this detachment to do what I'm trying to do with these units instead of, in this case, the old standby Gladius? So you've already got Righteous Crusaders, which is a really good detachment and one of the few Space Marine detachments that competes with the Gladius. And then you've got the Gladius itself. So obviously this isn't trying to compete with Stormlance. It isn't trying to compete with Ironstorm. You could argue, though, considering the way Vanguard is usually used, where it tends to go around a Death Star unit, that if you're trying to put together a big Death Star unit, why you wouldn't use Vanguard instead. So you could argue it is competing a bit with Vanguard, and Vanguard, I think, is a better detachment as well. So, yeah, again, it's fine, but just Space Marines have so many good detachments, and I just don't think this holds up to those. It's not that you can't have fun with it. It's not that if you want to, create this specific fantasy of this marching army or column of, Primaris or just infantry-based Black Templars, that you can't do it with this detachment. I just think you've got better choices and better options for you. So that's where I am standing on this detachment. I don't usually say this, but I probably should say this more often, even though I'm not really trying to promote this channel. But let me know in the comments below, especially for go back for any me other detachments, mate. They could use some comments and views too. Until then, I've been Divine Erdrick,